What's up, everyone? My name is Mike, and this is The Bored Cyborg. Let's talk about some movies that I haven't seen. Welcome back to yet another episode. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different and talk about movies that I haven't seen. I figure I haven't seen this sort of list pop up on YouTube, probably for good reason, but I figure let's be a little bit different and talk about movies I've yet to see, movies that have evaded me over the years, over the decades, films that it makes no sense how I haven't seen them. The way that I did the ranking is basically number 1 is going to be the most incredible that I haven't seen it. That's kind of how I ranked it. So basically the number 1 I think is the most popular, and it sort of goes like that as the list goes along. I'd love to know some of the films that you've been interested in that you just haven't sat down and watched yet. I think it would make for some pretty cool conversation, so feel free to leave that in the comments below and we'll get a discussion going as usual. My number 10 is an action film. It's a Western. It's one of the most popular, well-known action Westerns in cinema in general. This film came out in '69, and I've yet to see it. Sam Peckinpah's The Wild Bunch. You know, it's got a crazy cast. Ernest Borgnine, William Holden, Robert Ryan, Edmund O'Brien, Warren Oates, Ben Johnson. I love Sam Peckinpah's movies. How I haven't sat down and watched this yet is beyond me. Yes, it is a long movie. A lot of the movies on this list are actually longer movies, so that may have something to do with it. Sometimes when a film has like a 3-hour runtime, I'm like, well, I could watch 2 movies in that time, but that's no excuse. I haven't sat down and watched The Wild Bunch. I've seen some scenes from it, especially the opening scene, which looks remarkable in terms of violence. This film really pushed the envelope in terms of violence in 1969. So many on-scene deaths, blood, all that good stuff. And I haven't seen it. And I'm an action junkie. That's my number 10, The Wild Bunch. My number 9 is another action-adventure film. This one stars Steve McQueen. Came out in 1963, and I've not seen it, and that is The Great Escape. It is on this set, along with Magnificent Seven, Thomas Crown Affair, and The Sand Pebbles, but The Great Escape, one of the greatest films, so they say, of all time, one of the best World War II films of all time, one of the best uplifting stories, motivational stories of all time, and here I am sitting on my ass, and I've not seen The Great Escape. Crazy, right? I know this film has Charles Bronson, a young Charles Bronson, again, a great cast, Steve McQueen leading. I haven't seen a lot of Steve McQueen films, like Bullet, and the Thomas Crown Affair on here. A lot of films that I really need to sit down and watch, but the Steve McQueen that I need to sit down and watch is The Great Escape, so that is my number 9. My number 8 is a film from 1984. That is David Lynch's Dune. Now, I do have a reason for not seeing this movie yet. For years, like a decade, I've been wanting to read Frank Herbert's novel, Dune, before I watch any movies or TV series, which I do own the TV series as well. I know the new movie's coming out, with directed by Denis Villeneuve, so I really need to get on my horse and read that damn novel, or say f*** it and just watch the movies. David Lynch's Dune from 1984, I haven't sat down and watched yet. I know it's supposed to be nothing like the original novel anyway. I know it's supposed to be super Lynchian and very strange, although I do hear it's his most mainstream film. It has a weird cast, like Sting I know is in this. It doesn't say who else is in it, but I know Sting is in it. He's on there. Kyle MacLachlan, of course. But it's a sci-fi action-adventure film that I haven't seen from the 80s. I mean, that makes no sense. It's the last big 80s sci-fi film that I have to sit down and watch, and so that's why it's my number 8, Dune. My number 7 is another science fiction classic from 1951, directed by Robert Wise, one of my favorite directors of all time. This case is broken. Stay! That is The Day the Earth Stood Still. Now, I have seen the remake with Keanu Reeves from, what, '08? But I haven't seen the original from 1951. Shame on me. The imagery in this film is iconic, classic. What's the name of the robot? Gort? I think his name is Gort. You know, just the images of the shiny, super 50s shiny costume for the alien. And, of course, the political ramifications of this film and the environmental And all of the things that this film is trying to say, I know about it all, but I haven't sat down and watched the damn movie, and I really, really need to do that. I'm so ashamed that I've seen the 2008 remake, which I didn't mind, without seeing this one. It's one of my most shameful picks here. So that is my number 7, The Day the Earth Stood Still. Yeah, the original sci-fi masterpiece. I know. I gotta get on it. My number 6 is from 1943. It is the only Universal horror film from the main line, you know, Wolfman, Dracula, Frankenstein, the Mummy, the Creature, that I have not seen. And that is Cloud Rains in the Phantom of the Opera. I have no idea how I haven't seen this yet. I am a fan of the Phantom of the Opera story. I've seen the Robert Englund one. I've seen a few here and there, the Dario Argento one, and I do like those films. But this is a classic, not the classic. This isn't the first time Phantom of the Opera was on the big screen. In 1925, there was the version with Lon Chaney, which I haven't seen either. But I have to sit down and watch this and knock it off the Universal Monsters catalog, which I'm slowly chipping my way through. I've seen the majority of the movies, but I haven't seen one of the classics, one of the monster movies, Phantom of the Opera. It never got a sequel. It is what it is, and I need to sit down and watch it. That's why it's my number 6, Phantom of the Opera. My number 5 is another classic from 1920, the silent era, an era which I am fond of. I've seen a ton of 30s films, but not too many 20s films, and I need to rectify that. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari from 1920. Look at the dust on this thing. It's still sealed. A good friend got this for me for my birthday a few years back, and I still haven't watched it. It looks beautiful. The coloring of the film, it's a black and white film, but they use color filters. It's iconic. A lot of people say that this inspired Universal to make Frankenstein. It's the quintessential, it's the progenitor, I should say, of the mad doctor, the mad scientist in film. And I've yet to see the damn thing. It came at the forefront of the German Expressionism movement in the 20s, and man, it's only 77 minutes long. I have no excuse. I need to sit down and watch The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari from 1920. It's my number 5. My number 4 is in this Fritz Lang set. So you might be able to guess what it is. It's his most popular picture. It's one of the most popular science fiction pictures of all time. It started a genre. That is Metropolis. I even own the anime back here, which I refused to watch until I watched the original Metropolis by Fritz Lang. It's iconic. What can you say about the film? Every image I've seen from it, my heart melts. It looks just so brilliant and so ahead of its time. It has a creature or a robot in it that sort of has autonomy. So, I mean, this is from the 20s. You know what I mean? This film was doing things that filmmakers wouldn't be doing for decades. So I need to watch Metropolis. There's no excuse. It is long, but it's a silent film, black and white. I have to sit down and watch Metropolis so I could watch that damn anime. And so I could finally get this important piece of cinema into my catalog of films that I've watched. So that is my number 4, Metropolis. My number 3 is from 1962. It's an action-adventure film, and I am so ashamed that I haven't seen this movie yet. Granted, it's like 17 hours long, but that is Lawrence of Arabia with Peter O'Toole. Who directed this? David Lean. Right, David Lean. This film looks remarkable. The cinematography just takes my breath away anytime I see any shots of this movie. I mean, the explosion of the train in the back here, the desert, the way it's shot and everything, it's in full, beautiful Technicolor. And I haven't seen it. I've seen a lot of the epics from the 60s. The Ten Commandments, I've seen Spartacus, I've seen, what's the other big one? I haven't seen Ben-Hur. That's another big one I have to see from the 60s. But just these 60s epics, this is one of the ones that I haven't seen. And you know what's funny? I had the DVD. I bought the DVD when I was 15 at a grocery store. Kept it sealed for about 15 years. Finally upgraded to the Blu-ray last year. That's just the way that I collect sometimes. I pick up a movie I know I want to see and don't watch it for a friggin' decade and a half and then end up upgrading to Blu-ray. So I have to see this film on Blu-ray. I have to see it all in one sitting, so it has to be a day that I'm off where I just have time to burn. That is Lawrence of Arabia. Alright, my number 2 and my number 1 I think are going to surprise you guys quite a bit, especially being the horror action junkie that I am. The first one is from 1974 and it stars Tim Curry. It's a bit of a cult classic. You guys ever hear of the Rocky Horror Picture Show? Yeah, I didn't think so. So everybody has seen this movie. Everybody that's not even a fan of horror, not even a fan of musicals, they've seen the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It is iconic. I am so ashamed that I haven't seen this movie. My excuse is that I don't watch too many musicals. But that is a bullshit excuse because I have seen films like Repo. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is one of my favorite films of all time. I love all the old Disney classics, so that's a bullshit excuse on my end. There are so many things in my area at local theaters that do Rocky Horror Picture Show nights, and they jazz it up with a whole bunch of props and actors and all that kind of thing. And I haven't seen the stage show, I haven't seen the movie, and I'm ashamed to say it. It's a horror comedy musical from what I understand, and I really need to rectify that. Maybe I'll rectify that this coming October and do a review on it as a first impression, since that might be a fresh kind of video, since everybody and their mother literally has seen the Rocky Horror Picture Show. So that is my number 2. Rocky Horror Picture Show. Alright, my number 1, it's crazy that I haven't seen this movie. I'm a fan of the actors. I'm a fan of the director. I'm a fan of the genre it is, the decade it came out, but I haven't seen it. I will rectify that soon because the sequel's coming out, which is, what, 33 years later? That is Top Gun from 1986, starring Tom Cruise and Kelly McGillis, directed by Stoney Scott. That's his stoner brother, Tony Scott. I can't believe I haven't sat down and watched this movie. It is machismo-laden. It's supposed to be cheesy 80s as hell. A rockin' soundtrack, which I've heard countless times. Flying through the danger zone. Everybody knows that song. I know that song. But I haven't seen the goddamn movie that it accompanies. And that is Top Gun. I haven't seen the trailer to the new Top Gun. I don't really watch trailers, but I saw a couple shots, and goddamn does it look beautiful. Although it looks like another Mission Impossible movie by Tom Cruise. I feel like every Tom Cruise movie nowadays is a Mission Impossible movie in disguise. But I want to see the new movie. I'm a fan of the director Joseph Kosinski, who did Tron Legacy and Oblivion with Tom Cruise. So I need to sit down and watch this movie and get all of its cheese, all of its homoerotic. I hear it has a homoerotic and awesome beach volleyball scene with a lot of sweat and slow motion. Sounds like my kind of thing. I can't believe I haven't seen this movie, guys. It's 80s, it's action, it's Tom Cruise, and it's Tony Scott. All ingredients that I have to enjoy this film. If I come out of this not liking Top Gun, I will be surprised. But we shall see when I sit down and watch it. That is my number 1, Top Gun. I just want to thank you guys for checking out my list of top 10 movies that I haven't seen. I don't know if this is if people are gonna care about this at all. Obviously, I don't have too much to say about these movies, except for the fact that I can't believe I haven't seen them. But I thought it would be interesting to show you guys some of the movies, some of the big movies that I do want to see that I haven't gotten around to yet. I've seen like 35 to 4,000 movies. I have them all on Letterboxd, but I can't see them all, and these are just 10 of the films, 10 of the most popular films out there that I've yet to sit down and watch, and I'm ashamed of it. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, feel free to give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, feel free to hit the subscribe button, as well as the little bell for notifications. Anyway, guys, I will see you next time. Bored Cyborg, out. I have no pants on.